Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. I hope you're all doing well. This is the show where we get under the hat of some of the most important topics in franchising. And what do? It's a live show. So every week we have a new topic and a lovely guest. And we've got a fantastic guest for you today. And we have a bit of a deep delve into a franchising conversation. And this week, the topic was going to be ethical franchising in Ireland. But unfortunately, our guest, David Killeen, isn't very well. So we're all going to send our best wishes to David and hope that he makes a speedy recovery. But our conversation today is going to slightly change. And we have our lovely guest and sponsor of the show, the wonderful Sean Delaney. Sean, welcome to the Franchise Show.
Thank you so much, Harvey. It is good to be back. Good to see you again.
Of course, returning guest. We're glutton for punishment, Sean.
Amen to that.
Excellent. Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to a degree, let our audience take the direction with this conversation. But what we're definitely going to do is, because you're one of our wonderful sponsors from Human Op, which I've put up right there, I thought if you could explain a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the service that you're offering, and we're going to have a bit of a deep dive into how that then fits into the wonderful world of franchising. So, Sean, perhaps you could introduce yourself, what you do, and how Human Op has come about and what it is.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I'm at least the third biggest expert in what it is to be me in my history, so I'll talk about me for a minute and then we'll get on to what we do in the world. So for over 30 years, oh, go on, Sean, you can't be that old. For over 30 years, I've worked with some of the biggest organizations in the world, household names, Nike, Uber, MetLife, Ford, a lot of big companies, and realized, and I was solving for them their most pernicious, persistent problems, the things that they had tried to solve for over and over and over again and just could not figure out. And over all that time, I realized something in fixing these big giant problems is that all business is the same, everywhere, anywhere. Doesn't matter the industry, the focus, whether it's a company, whether it's a franchise, whatever it is, that all business is just people playing the game of enterprise, meaning they are exchanging value in return for value back. And if it's weighted towards the customer, they're going to do all right. And so once I was able to sort of break that down and start to see patterns, I realized that there are 10 fundamental disciplines that every business needs to be able to manage, and not only manage, but connect to each other. And in that, if they connected these 10 disciplines, distilled them down to the essence of what they are, so they weren't so hard, so large, so complex. They just took down the essence of what it is of people being people, trying to make stuff happen in the world, to create change, that business could be a lot easier and not so mysterious. And we could get back to what it really is. And we could go further, faster, with more fun. So I developed a framework for how to view a business, how to view all the components of it, and how to get it together in the right mix that aligned with who you are, what your real mission is, what your core values are, and where you see your enterprise leading to change in the world. While we were doing that, I'll tell you about how Human Up came about. So in that company with What If, that's what we called it, and our 10-point model called the Harmonious Business Architecture. Harmonious being not only the state we want in our business, but actually it is an acronym for those 10 disciplines. So once I came up with that, I realized there's one thing that I can't really solve for. I would go to a big, large company and I would make changes. And then 6 months to 18 months later, they'd call me back to refix something. So what went wrong? I gave them all the notes to play. I told them this is how you're supposed to operate. So what went wrong? And it usually came back to being a person problem. Somebody wasn't being managed the right way, somebody wasn't being lit up by their job, somebody wasn't in the right role, something was going wrong with the people. Leadership didn't understand the difference between being a leader and being a manager, all kinds of things that could go wrong there. And when we found HumanOp, I said, this is now the person we need to play with, because what HumanOp had is the world's only patented, I don't want to say diagnostic, I don't want to say assessment, I don't want to say, well, what do I want to say? It's a tool that allows you, Harvey, to say, this is not just who you are in the world, but it's what you are in the world, down to the nuclear forces that are on your body, the electromagnetism around you. It is you down to the quantum level.
Mm.
And if we know that, you can light someone up by giving them the things that they are uniquely designed to do in this world. You can see when they're not optimized, and you can feed their proper drivers, and you can make magic happen for people in their lives. And I said, if we could take that, optimize the human being, get them recentered on who they are, what they are in the world, let them see more clearly what their core values are, and then put them into an optimized business, we're going to be shooting lights out. It is game over for people. And so that was how that merger happened. So now What If we still use it because it's kind of a cool name, but it's a brand really underneath HumanOp. So that's what we do now. We are optimizing the human being with the only patented technology. And the reason it's the only kind of diagnostic like that it is patented is because it's the only one that goes off of the physics of a human being. Those kinds of psychometric tests test how you think, and how you think changes based on, did you stub your toe today? Did you have a bad breakfast that didn't agree with you? Something might be going on that changes your perception of the world. This gets down to what never changes, the vehicle of self that you are in the world. And once you understand that, you can go just about anywhere. So that's where we are. Those are kind of the places we play. Let's talk about how that applies to franchises, franchisees, franchisors, and all people with components in those things.
Absolutely. And before we get into that, let's recognize a few people who have joined us here live already today. So we have the ever wise Simon Wise. Always good to have Simon with us. He's put, hello, franchise friends. Well, hello to you as well, Simon. I think actually, great description there, Sean, of what you do and what your business is doing. And where I can really see this conversation going today is alignment. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, as a franchisor, you're looking at trying to align what it is that you offer with an individual. And to do that, you've really got to know an individual. And you're absolutely right that a lot of people don't know themselves. A lot of people who in a career, they might have been in the wrong career all their lives, right? Because they just wandered into a career, they fell into this particular job. And actually, if they had looked at who they really were, they would have probably taken a different path. So I think if we could all think today about alignment, now whether that's as a franchisee, what business do I choose, or as a franchisor, which franchisee do I choose, then I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation to get into. Let's recognize a few more people before we get into that. We have Margaret Martinez with us, and she's put, hello everyone, or hello to you, and great to have you with us on the Franchise Show. We have the lovely Penny Hopkinson with us. It's always fantastic to have Penny with us. And as you can see, Penny, I'm not in my normal Harry Potter-esque under the stairs office today, so I don't have your book, but you know what? I do have your QR code. And strangely, that's going to appear right on the screen right now. So if you are looking for an ops man, your Penny is your lady. And Penny's put, hello, everyone. Apologies for the late arrival. Well, it's not a problem at all. It's always fantastic to have you with us, Penny. And Margaret's come back with 100% correct as you were talking there, Sean. So that's fantastic. And we've got Nick with us, Nick Pleven from eRecruit. Now, this is going to be an interesting conversation for Nick as well, because Nick certainly deals with trying to find the right person. Nick is a specialist in recruitment and has got a fantastic piece of software for that. So it'd be interesting to see how you both feel about understanding an individual, understanding what their core values are, understanding those things, then makes them a better employee because they're more suited to something, and hopefully makes them a better franchisee because, again, they're more aligned with what people are offering as a franchisor. And finally, we have, there we go. We've got Rachel with us as well. Great to have you, Rachel, with us on the show today. And she's put spot on. So I think that was again in relation to hearing what you were saying. And we have, again, we've got Tim. It's great to have you. He's put made it. Love the spelling of that. Good to see you guys. Well, it's great to see you, Tim. Always fantastic to have you with us. If you have just joined us, this is the Franchise Show, and today we are talking about how we can get our franchisees to align with our businesses, and how, as a potential franchisee, you can align yourself with a franchise. So if you're listening today, give us your thoughts on that. How do you work out who you are and what franchise is best for you? And how, as a franchisor, do you work out who is the best franchisee for you? So Sean, let's get into this. How do you go about understanding who somebody is? You know, how do I understand who Harvey is, and you know, where I should be investing my time?
Yes. All right. So I'm going to take a pitch out for using anything that we have, right? We can talk about that whenever we have to talk about it. But and it's a free app, by the way, Harvey. So I'm not really selling anything, even if I do talk about it. But so outside of something like the Human Op, the ultimate life tool that we have, without that, I think if we're talking about people being aligned with a franchise, I would say it's the same thing you would do with anything that you want to join up with. So if I am somebody looking to invest in a franchise, and I am looking at it saying, where amongst all of these opportunities can I make the most money? If that is my first question, if that is my last question, I could probably find a lot of places where I could, in theory, make a lot of money. But I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I work with, whether it's a franchise or they built their own thing. And I asked the question, so what do you like about this? I just did this with somebody who has a landscaping business. I said, what is it about landscaping and helping people solve the problem of I need a landscaper, however they define that? What is it about that jazzes you up? And they said, I don't know. I'm still just trying to, it was an easy way to make money, right? It reminded me of when I am a recovering lawyer, just so you know. I don't tell people I'm a lawyer because I don't want them to hate me right off the bat. I want them to grow to hate me over time, right? And so I used to be a lawyer. I made the mistake of, as a kid, somebody asked me, what do you want to be? And I said, I don't know, I want to be a lawyer. I honestly, literally think it's because Gomez Adams from the Adams family also was a lawyer. It was one of the, and I just wanted to be like Gomez Adams. All right. So for all the wrong reasons, I went down the path of becoming a lawyer. And I'm not a quitter, Harvey. So even though along the way I thought, nah, I still forced all the way through past the bar, talking to law firms about my first gig out of there. And it was then in having those conversations, I realized, I don't know, a lot of this just isn't in alignment with who I am. There are parts of it that I'm good at, some of the logical thinking and the deconstruction of problems. Amen. Hallelujah. But the game of being in the law was not what I thought it was. I thought, Harvey, stupid me, that practicing law meant I was seeking truth and justice. And yet that's not how that game plays. Economics are so much a part of it that it frequently is either big companies throwing money around to get themselves out of trouble. It is governmental overreach from the other direction. It is prosecutors trying to get convictions and defense attorneys trying to get people off, regardless of the consequences. And I said, I'm not going to play a game where just because I'm skilled at it, maybe justice isn't served. It was a different game, so I left that game. So when we look at business as well, right? So I knew that I wasn't right for it. I looked at my values and said, I'm doing this for the wrong reasons. I have student loans now and I need to find a job. And the biggest paying jobs were big defense firms that were trying to protect companies that I knew had done wrong things, destroyed the environment. And now I, because I'm good at what I'm going to do, are going to get them off. No way. Can't play that game. Didn't sit with my core values. So I had to walk away from the money in order to align myself with something that I would really light me up in the world. So the same thing, I would say, if you're looking for a job for job seekers, if you're looking for a franchise to invest in, if you're looking for, and so we'll take that now, instead of, we'll get to the franchise owner looking for people, right? If you are doing that, I would start with, I can make money anywhere. Money's not really the part of the equation. What I want to do, I know I'll make more money and feel better about the money that I make if I'm lit up somewhere doing a thing that resonates with me. And I'm saying, go beyond, I'm going to sell chicken sandwiches. You're looking and saying, does, for example, Chick-fil-A's core values resonate with me? Because they wear their values on their sleeve. And if I share the core values and share in their mission, then I'm going to do really well in working with this company. Same thing if I'm a franchisor, if I have the franchise and I'm selling those franchise opportunities to people, I want to say, just like when I'm hiring people, what about our core values lights you up? I don't want to see your resume. I almost don't care about your resume because your resume is going to say all kinds of stuff that you're really great at that maybe you are or not, right? Your resume isn't what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is, what about our core values light you up? Because I'm building a team and the team has to all share in the same, not the same thoughts. We don't have to come to the same conclusions. That's diversity of thought, which is what we want. But I want to know that your heart's in the same, you see the world through the same lenses of values and ethics that I do. And then what about our mission lights you up? Man, I can't get enough landscaping. I see a well-groomed lawn and I'm in heaven. Okay, cool. You can come work there. If you say, I don't care, you just pay well, you pay better than the last one and you seem like a better dude than that one. All right, maybe this isn't a good fit, right? So it always starts, no matter what you're doing, with core value alignment. Do I read something about the mission resonates with me and I want to be a part of the team, the collective of human beings banging around in the world, making changes on that playing field in that game.
I love that. And I think you're absolutely right. I'm going to stop you briefly there because you've made some really fascinating points, actually. Okay. And in terms of, and we'll get to sort of the other side of it when a franchisor is trying to find a franchisee. But when you're a franchisee trying to find that opportunity, you spoke there, first of all, about making money. Yes, of course, you've got to make some money. It's part of it. But you've got to be content. You've got to be, in inverting commas, happy or at least resilient and enjoy. I love what you said there about lighting someone up, what lights them up. Yeah, I think that's a phrase that you should remember as a franchisee or as a franchisor. Does it light you up? And the question why is a really, really important question in franchising, especially if you're a potential franchisee. If you ask yourself, why do I want to invest in this business and in this industry? What is it that excites me about it? And if it does, then you're heading down the right road. Like you say, you'll then be happy with the money that you start to make, because it almost has to be part of it. It can't be the main driver. You've got to have something that you're aligned with. I love that. Let's have a look quickly at what Simon's put here. Simon's put, for me, it's all about the franchise brand story. Well, of course, Simon is my partner on franchise brand stories, and we talk about those stories. We talk about those stories because we're aligning people with franchisors that their heart is in the same place. You use that as an expression, and I love that as an expression. It's absolutely correct. The journey of the founders, their ups and their downs, and how their own values and culture shape the business. You see, this is it, right? Ups and downs as well. it's not all good stuff. Sometimes you have to align with some challenges that someone's faced. And I can empathize with the fact that they've been through this challenge as a franchisor, but they've been through it, they've solved it. And that's part of what you buy into as a franchisee. You're buying into a model, you're buying somebody else's mistakes, so that hopefully you don't have to make those mistakes. Somebody has made it before you.
Yeah, core values are, you never look at what they say. I mean, you do, because you want to see if there's alignment with what they say and do, but core values are, in nature, a bear can only ever be a bear, because bears just do what bears do, and they are what bears are. But human beings have free will. Nature doesn't drive us all the time, although maybe it should more, in alignment with who we are, right? And what the natural order of things is. So we have free will. We can say one thing and do another. So core values on a wall are great, but you're looking for the demonstration of those core values. And there's no better time to look for someone's demonstration of their core values than when they are in a crisis, when it is in the downs, because that is when you will see, well, you say you have ethics, Harvey, but when you couldn't rub two nickels together, or when your only supplier went out of business, when a market totally dried up, when you were somehow, something happened that impacted your business, how did you respond? Was it the easy way out? Was it maybe an unethical thing that you did? Maybe it was you aligned with somebody who you didn't really believe in, but you were going to just toe the new party line and say what they needed to say in order to, right, because of expeditious reasons? Or have you stuck to it? These truly are my core values. That's how you pressure test. And so you look for those brand stories of where'd they start, why'd they start there, what's happened to them, and how they navigate it. So I completely agree with was it Simon, Nick, right? So
it was Simon. Let's put that comment back up before we go on to the next one. But yeah, absolutely. It's in these challenges where we find out a lot about ourselves as a franchisor, as a franchisee. And I think when we're trying to find out who we are, that can often come from those challenging times. So to hear the story of those challenging times, and that's often where innovation and opportunity come from. They rarely come from a place of comfort. Innovation normally comes from solving a problem, and the problem is normally a challenge. So without failure, without challenges, we don't innovate, we don't find solutions, and we don't grow. And it's those failures, those challenges, that's what makes franchising one of the benefits of it. That those learnings have happened and continue to happen. So failures are good in some ways.
That's fantastic. No better teacher. And and core, yes, well, amen. I can't even add anything to it. Well said. Yeah.
Let's have a little look at both what Nick's put here, and we've also got a good comment coming up from Tim Morris as well. So Nick's put, absolutely agree. It's got to push my buttons, or why on earth would I do it? That's the reason behind eTalent as well. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, I mean, eTalent and Nick is all about helping people find the right people for the role that they're offering beyond salary expectations. Yeah. And when you're trying to find the right franchisee, it's got your core values have got to be something more than what you wrote on a PowerPoint 10 years ago. They've really got to be something that you believe in. Yeah. And when we interview founders and when we interview the people who have started these businesses, their core values generally come across from them. They are genuine core values. And I think that I'm sure you probably find when you help people discover more about themselves as to what and who they truly are, down to that sort of granular level, some of that they're surprised by, but some of that they think, I'm very glad that is one of my core values.
Right. Sometimes it has to be shown to them. Sometimes I had one person, I said, I spent time with him. I'm here to fix his problems. Wasn't even going to be a core value issue, but turned out to be. I'm looking at his operation, and I said, Garrett, who wrote these core values? And he's like, how did you know? He was fessing up that he didn't write them. I said, because none of you is on that page. So what happened? He's like, well, I had a bunch of core values, and then some suits came in, rewrote it in flowery language and put it up on the board. I said, yeah, and it's obvious. It stinks of misalignment. It might be a nicer way to say it. They might look great up there, but who are you at your core? Once I got him back to, well, this is who I really am, and we changed them, everybody, because he was hiring people who really believe what he wants to believe, but he was holding them and himself to a whole bunch of standards that's like, none of this feels right. You can hear the disharmony in it, right? And so it's dissonant. Once we aligned him there, he said, okay, great, now I really know what I stand for. But he still had a problem with misalignment of people and functions. And so using something like our human ultimate life tool, we can, and this is what Nick is going to want to talk to me about, and I'm going to want to talk to him about. So it will tell us the what someone is. So for example, for me, I have two primary drivers, creating order and effervescence, which means I see the optimistic, positive side of things, right? So in creating order, it's like, I like processes, procedures. I like things neat and tidy. And I do it because that's how my brain makes sense of the world, right? And so we will do this for people. We say, what are your primary drivers? What are the things, what are the voices in your head? What are the things that light you up? What are the things that drain you? And how do we feed your positive drivers? Now, knowing that, so if I say, Harvey, you want to come work for Human Up, that's great. What about our core values resonate with you? Well, I like this and this, and I feel the same ways. Great. What about our mission lights you up? You want to get this technology out to the world so everyone can see themselves, so that people can feel lit up. They understand all conflict resolution could be a lot easier. Wars disappear. Bullying goes away from schools. People get off of all kinds of things they're addicted to because now they're feeding their healthy drivers. I love that. Beautiful. And now you say, but so what's the job I'm applying for again? We say, well, we could give you one of those traditional mixed bags of things, and it's going to have stuff you like and stuff you don't like. Yep, like every job. No, but not here. So here we say we have a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of tasks, things to be done. They're not a job yet because we haven't met you, Harvey. Now we know you, and we know what lights you up. We know what feeds you all day, every day. So how about, of the 300 things that we need to get done as an organization, we're going to give you these 30. And you're going to look at that list and go, where's all the bad stuff? And I'm going to say, it's not there. Brandon's going to do that. Oh, what a terrible job for him. Not for him. He loves that stuff. He eats it up. He wants to be there playing with those spreadsheets all day, every day. He wants none of the stuff that you love doing. Certainly none of the stuff I love doing. So your job now is that stuff. And you will not be able to get enough of it. You're going to love it. Okay, what's my job title? Being Harvey. I don't know. Make something up. Right? We'll give you a useful title so people understand sort of what you're responsible for and when they should come to you and not. And that's going to be your job. Imagine a company where everybody had the perfect job tailored for them out of the bucket of stuff to be done. Right? So that's sort of a new way of turning it on its head to say, here's how we're going to really light you up in your job in all ways and shapes and forms, while we're still moving together towards that vision of the future through our mission while adhering to our core values.
Yeah, I mean, fascinating. And I mean, I think education needs to go that way, just nurturing people's talents and you know, and going with that. But look, I think in a franchise industry, I think it's really interesting because, you know, when you're looking at a potential franchise, you don't tend to ask, why have you selected me to be a franchisee? As a franchisee, you don't tend to ask the franchisor or the owner that question.
Yeah.
But I think it's a valid question to ask, right? If I was a franchisee and I was looking at an opportunity and I was sitting there in front of the business development manager or the founder and say, look, why have you chosen me as a potential franchisee? What is it about me that lights you up? And why do you think are aligned? I think that's something potential franchisees should do. I think it's more commonplace, or it certainly should be commonplace. The very first question I ask people is, what's made you come to the decision to make an inquiry about this franchise? You know, what's brought you to it? You know, who are you? What was your experience? What's your passion? Why? You know, and it's the why that gives the most interesting answer.
Imagine this answer. Imagine how different, think of how differently you feel. If you ask me that question and I say to you, Harvey, I picked you because you paid the fee.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're warm body and you live where I want to put one of these things. That's why. Versus, well, you talked to me about your core values and I felt that you meant it. And I've seen your show and I see how you respond to people. And you wouldn't be doing a show like this. Is it for the billions of dollars that are coming in, Harvey? Or is it because you love helping people and you connect so well with them? You must have some kind of intuitive something about you, and you see people for who they are and you bring people together. You acknowledge everyone here. It is a beautiful sight and service that you are providing to the world. So of course, I would love for you to join our team and help me bring this mission forward in the escaping of lands, whatever this franchise is. Way different. You're ready to kill it. Say, okay, well, so then let's do this together. I feel seen, heard, and understood.
Yeah. It's alignment is one of the biggest words in franchising, in my view. Alignment is one of those words. It's one of those things that's so key in our industry, that we are aligned. And it's not necessarily always the primary thing that's spoken about, and it should be. It really should be. You know, by telling a story, or by a founder telling a story, and whether that's on a show like Franchising Brand Stories, or whether that is them telling that story in another way, whether it's a video on their website, or whether it's them talking to a franchisee and telling their story, that's where the alignment happens.
Yeah.
You know, I promise people when I talk to them, it won't be death by PowerPoint. Right? And what I mean by that is when I talk to them, I just want to have a conversation, and because in that conversation you find out about each other, you find out what makes each other tick. You naturally talk about a list of values without it feeling like talking of a list of values and seeing, ticking them off. You just click or you don't click, and I think it's so important.
We're a storytelling species. It's how we propagate this thing of being human, is to tell stories. And so yes, it's very uninspiring to have somebody just read off a list of core values as opposed to, here is how I show up in the world when adversity strikes.
You've got it. I love that. A storytelling species. That's exactly what we are.
Yeah.
How do you remember things? How are you taught to remember things when you have to do something like an exam or a test? Well, you're taught to make a story. If you've got to remember a list of things, you're taught to create a building, create rooms, put the objects in those rooms in places that you can imagine, that you can see and you can feel. And we do that because, just as you said, we are a storytelling and a story listening species.
And we tell that story and we experience that story not only through the words that we're using, that's a proxy for a demonstration of those values. So before language was even a thing, how would I teach you how to make a fire? You would kneel down in the dirt with me and I would show you how to do it. It's me demonstrating who I am. It's like, don't tell me the words that you care about people. That guy just tripped next to you and you were late to a meeting, so you didn't stop to help him up. So don't tell, right? You are telling me the story, but you are showing me the story as well. And that as a species, that's how we learn. It's not just what I say to my kids. I can tell them things all day, but if I also am not aligning those words with my actions, they see it, they know it. If children can see it, so can business people. That's what we need to remember we're looking for.
100%. We got some great comments coming up from Tim, from Simon, from Nick, and from Penny. But before we do that, what you just said reminded me of something, Sean. I spoke with a good friend and franchise expert, Ryan from Teslon, and Ryan said to me that he'll take a franchisee out for dinner, not to entertain them and all of that sort of thing, but see how they act towards people like the waiters and the servers.
Yeah.
See if they hold the door open for someone. Because they're in a different environment and they relax, and who they are starts to come out. And those sorts of values, politeness, kindness, decency, are true values to him. And I know him. And I think it's really interesting that he finds a way of not talking about those, but seeing those.
Yes.
Those being shown in a really organic and natural way. So love that. Let's get into a few of these comments. Let's have a look at one here from Tim. It's a big one, so let's read this out. I would absolutely agree. Core values and also culture must be aligned. There are very big corporate brands who have moved on many years ago from the founder, so the company and brand and what it stands for is incredibly important. It could be that a franchisee looks at two different brands providing very similar services with a similar investment price point. It's culture and values that should be the defining factor. Absolutely. And Tim's made a really good point here, that as a company evolves, you know, if we're talking about large corporate companies as they evolve, sometimes that distance from the original founder, perhaps, you know, they're not in the business anymore. Maybe it's been 50, 100 years, you know, maybe so the values are what's left behind, you know, and how do we create those values into something that can go on beyond that founder, you know?
And so if the core values. So I think somebody also asked, I'm going to take care of another question here too that was about core values changing. Your core values.
Hold on, let's put that one up right now. There you go. Okay. Let me read that one out first. Okay. So Simon's put, can values evolve, change as a business grows? And is this when we see a parting of the waves between franchisors and franchisees? What do you make of this? Because you know, you made a good point that we change, don't we?
We do change. So I would say this: core values are not conditional. Conditional truths aren't really true. They only true when a certain set of conditions are there, right? So I love people, except when I'm really cranky, then I hate them. That's not a core value, right? That's an aspiration. Gosh, I really like loyalty, but when push comes to shove, I'm going to stab you in the back. That's not a core value. That's I like it, but I don't really hold it. I think core values are forever. If I believe in loyalty, then I should now and forever believe in loyalty. If I believe in justice, I should now and forever believe in justice, and not give that up if market conditions change. If I have a way to make a buck over here, like I have to be willing to. I will close my doors if I can only keep them open if I compromise these things. Okay, that's what I think. Now, but your mission can change a little bit if the world has changed such that the mission no longer is relevant, or you've expanded beyond it. You were like, we thought we were only going to save this endangered species. Now we realize we can save all animals around the planet. Your mission has changed. Maybe it's grown, it's morphed as you have expanded in your ability to change things in the world. But I think your core values have to be universal, because if they can change based on conditions, based on things are better now, then I don't know how tightly held they are, and we can't trust in them then. And the only way you can have any play or any confidence in a company is if we trust that these things will never change. Right. And so I think it gets convoluted when companies get too big and suddenly there are shareholders. And now, well, I'm not making the decision, Harvey. It's the shareholders. It's the street. Well, that means money is calling the shots. So I don't like that, because once money starts calling the shots, we again are playing in the world of, if it makes sense from an economic standpoint, I'll change it. I'll throw my core values out. Right. So I think we have to be careful once that happens. I think companies that make decisions based on social issues, it's a moment in time, and if it's not reflective of the core values, look, just ask Bud Light. They made a decision on their marketing. Whether you believe in that mission or message or not is not I'm not debating that right now, because some people love what they did, some people hate what they did. But their core values, what their brand stood for, was, cheap beer and football games. And then they tried to make a social message, and we see how the market reacted. That was not in alignment with the people who thought, hey, we're your constituents. You went a different direction. And that was because they didn't stick to whatever the founder and the mission and all that kind of stuff. They changed, and you live with the repercussions of that, I guess is what I'm saying, right? So
yeah, of course. I mean, we've got some comments coming up here from Penny, from Emma, and from Danny. Great to have Danny with us. So I want to get to those because we've got about 5 minutes left. It's been a fantastic conversation with our community. It's always a conversation with us all. You know, I always say that you're the producers, the directors of this show, and you absolutely are. Because we started today really with a conversation we didn't know where it would go. And it's been an absolutely fascinating conversation, and I've loved it. I'm going to put up a comment here from Penny, because I want to bring this one up. Because Penny's put, core values and stories are essential in the ops manual. It brings everything to life as we put ourselves in the position of the illustration. I'm going to bring this one up because we had a comment earlier about, especially when you get something like a corporate brand, okay? So they started off as a founder, maybe in someone's garage somewhere, and they've developed and they've changed, and that founder may have become the chairman or the chairperson, or they may have left, right? And what are they left? They're left with the values they had. Now, one of the ways that we can put our values into our businesses and into our franchise businesses is through our ops manual. And if we can bring that to life and make that a knowledge sharing platform that Penny's always talking about, if we can really truly get our values, our core values, and Sean, you mentioned their core values are not conditional values, they don't change. So if you can put your core values into your ops manual, and you can make your ops manual something that comes to life, that is, but the values stay the same, then I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, because then your processes can change. But as long as you're keeping sight of the core values, it'll work both ways. You know that this process has to change because something in the world has been altered, and now if we did this process, we would violate a core value. Got to have a different process, right? Or we're going to change this process to do to do these new things because of expediency, because we'll make more money. So efficiency consultant comes in and says, I'm looking at this process, we could take 3 steps out of this. And we say, but wait a minute, those 3 steps were the ones that the customer was paying for. They like those a lot. And we say we're serving them. We can't cut those. So even though it would be, we chase the dollar, we would make that decision. Because we know our core values and we're looking at our processes as the core values are who we are. The mission is why we exist. The vision is where we want to go through the application of our core values through our enterprise along the pathways of our operation. These processes and procedures that tell us these are the guardrails on how we take nothing and make something, knowledge and make a service, materials and make a widget through these processes. And absolutely, that all has to be tied together.
100%. I'm going to bring up this comment from Danny, because Danny is our resident culture expert, and it's lovely to have you with us, Danny. And Danny's put, our mission should change through achievable steps towards your aspirational vision. That's why we say mission accomplished. I like this. You can have, if you take a mission as something you need to achieve, and you take your values as the way you're going to achieve it, your mission can always be changing, right? Within values that remain core. So I like that one.
I think I agree. I agree with what the sentiment of what Danny's saying. I think it's a language thing, because I like to think of the mission as, can the mission change? The mission can change if you say, hey, our mission was a laptop on every desk, and now it's we're talking Microsoft. There's something like that, a computer in every home or something like that. Now and then they get to a point where they say, well, we can do more in the world, and now we can be, help people process information, or wherever it is they took it, right? So that can change, but it still has to be in alignment with the core values and still back to the reason why we exist. We're doing it because. So that mission shouldn't change. And then after that, if you're talking about mission accomplished, I think that is goals. We have a goal.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Goal, right? So I think we're saying the same thing in essence, but which thing, right?
Agree.
So it might be just goal versus mission or whatever, but
100%.
I agree.
Let's have a look at a couple more before we go on to the last section of the show for today. I want to welcome a lovely Emma Higgins to the show from House of Colour. I went through the House of Colour experience and had my style analysed. So
I want that. That sounds like a thing I want.
Well, you need to speak to Emma. I'm sure you can sort that out. Right, let's have a look. Emma's put core values and culture is so important when looking at a brand. This is a commitment for both prospect and franchisor. So values are what connects them to a partner for a long time. Our culture in House of Colour has changed over 40 years with different owners and leaders, but the core values are still at the heart of the business. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think that's fantastic. Let's have a look. I'm going to bring up one more from Simon. Let's have a look at this one. Simon's put, do successful franchises all share the same core values? This is an interesting one. I mean, what's your take on this? Do you think there are a set of core values that can equal success in any person, or are good core values different for different individuals, always different?
That is an interesting question. I'm sure if we end up, that's something for me to research, to overlay like every successful, take whatever we going to consider as the criteria for successful for a successful franchise.
I mean, Simon
overlay that up, actually, core values, and see if there's a heat map for right for the ones that resonate the most. I think they're just the ones that are anything that is you're going to do well in the place of enterprise, doing the thing. It's anything that is related to service, teamwork, adherence to truth in the face of we're going to honor what's true, whether it is good for us or not. As long as you look at your set of core values and say, I personally could stand before these in front of my grandmother, my God, my country, whatever it is, I believe that this is right and true and just for me. Great. So I can stand there with my head up, a head held high, saying this is truly what I believe, and then saying, and this will help me leverage the delivery of value towards my clients. I think you will succeed, right? So as long as you're looking at these core values through the lens of, am I doing right in the service to the mission? Because
I'm going to stop you there, Sean, because what you've just said there, looking at it through the lens, and I want to bring up Simon's comment, because he's put here, I think a core value for every franchisor should be, we exist to make sure our franchisees are successful. Now, you just said there, looking at a lens. If a franchisor can look at things through the lens of a franchisee, I think that's definitely something that's going to be useful.
Yeah, because that's their core. That's who they're serving primarily.
Exactly. We have pretty much come to the end of today's session. Thank you for that, Rachel. I'm going to keep that comment. I'd like to just bring that one up every now and again, no matter what.
Rachel, I'm taking that with me everywhere I go now. Rachel says spot on, so take it up with Rachel.
Well, look, we are coming to a part of the show which is brought to you by our lovely sponsors. Now, this part of the show, I normally come off camera and put a different hat on. But as you can see, I'm not in my office, and I'm so sorry, Paul, but I forgot the other hat. But it is brought to you by PJ Murphy and Sons, and they are bespoke British hatters. So if you want a hat, if you want to be as cool as me, then speak to Paul. So look, this is the part of the show where we're going to, for a moment, stop talking about franchising, and we're going to stop talking about values. And we want to know a little bit about you, Sean. And you get a chance to ask me a question. So I'm going to ask you a question. Have you got a claim to fame, or have you met anyone famous? That type of thing. Hit us with that.
Yes, I was playing a pickup hockey game in college, and I was a goalie, and the game was already going. Some guys joined late. This older guy gets on the ice. Maybe he's seen better days. I don't know. Listen to me trashing him. And guy gets a breakaway. Guy goes down. I make the save. Whatever. Bench goes crazy. Goes nuts. I'm like, what is this? After the game, I found out it was Micah Ruzioni who scored the game-winning goal for the United States back when, in the big, right. So
fantastic.
Had I been in net for the Russians, maybe history would have been different. I don't know, but that's my claim to fame. And had I known it was him, I'm sure he would have scored. I would have crapped my pants, right? So
and look, you get a chance to ask me any question you like, apart from, can you take the hat off? That is
no, I would never do that, please. I would if there's one thing you could do differently.
If there's one thing I could do differently,
what would it be?
In my past or in my future?
Now we're time traveling. In your past, is there one thing that, while we know,
I'll tell you what it is.
But tell me the lesson that you got from it that makes it worth not being able to do it over.
Okay. One of my minor regrets was not getting a degree, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay. I didn't get a degree. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I genuinely applied to be a spy. Okay. So MI6 genuinely have an application process. And I filled up the application process and I got 3 questions in. First question was your name and your details. Second question, your email. Third question, have you got a degree? I put no, and they put thanks very much. So I was a spy for 45 seconds, or that is what I'd say if I was a spy, probably.
Right.
But there you go.
We'll never know.
That's it. Look, there you go. Thank you so much, Sean, for your time today. It's been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And you know what? It quite often is the way when it's a surprising and a different conversation. It's been fantastic. So I really want to thank you for your time. I want to thank everybody who's been here tonight live with us, everybody who watches this in the future as well, because it's our community, it's our audience, it's the franchising world that make this show special, because you drive it. So I really, really want to thank everyone for being here. I was just seeing some of the comments coming in. It's always lovely to have you with us. You'd make a good spy, Harvey. You keep everything under
wrap. All over you now.
Let's see. Danny's put, it's just like a spy to say they're not a spy. Well, exactly.
He's right.
You never know. And Emma's put a spy in franchising. Well, that's it. Well, look, everybody, thank you so much for your time and spending your time with us. It's fantastic. Next week on the Franchise Show, we are going to be talking franchise mediation in New Zealand. So that's going to be a fascinating conversation. So please join us next Tuesday at 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST for that. And this Thursday on our sister show, Franchising Brand Stories, we're going to be talking to Paul Thompson. And we are going to be finding out what's under the hat of water babies. So that's going to be a fantastic conversation. I know it's a great story. So please join us this Thursday, 13th of February, 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST. So until next time, my lovely friends, take very good care. Cheerio.